You ever have that problem where you need to have power somewhere, but you don't actually have residential power hooked up somewhere? I'm going to show you how to set up, from my knowledge, a small 12 volt solar system to get your power to where you need it to be for either temporary uses or for long term use. So, how y'all doing today? Hope everything's going great with y'all. Let me get started with showing you what I know, and hopefully will help you out too. Okay, so a few things you're gonna need. Well, you're gonna need some solar panels. I have right now currently up on the roof, and excuse the mess by the way in here, because this is my shop area that hopefully is going to get converted into. There's an old house they had out here, so you can see that there's some water damage and all of this is coming out so that I can make this a nice shop hopefully. So excuse all that mess. So I've got currently right now up on the roof, I've got 4 100 watt panels for a total of 400 watts. I have my your charge controller, and this is the MPPT. Now these are supposed to be more energy efficient. I do know that these are recommended better than the, I think they're just PT chargers or something. There's another type, it's a lesser type. And this one can take up to, I think, a little over 500 watts. I didn't pay much for this, like maybe 30 bucks. So this one goes up to about 500 total watts. I've only got 400, and I think the amps are like 40. So I'm well within the range of the panels that I have. I can actually still put another 100 watts on it and still be okay. So, and then you'll need your batteries. Now these are some, I've had these for a while. I'll tell you a few do's and don'ts along the ways as well to keep your batteries going better. These are just some golf cart batteries picked up I think over at Sam's. They're 6 volt, so, but I'm running a 12 volt system. So I'm going to show you how to take your 6 volt batteries and make them into 12 volt batteries. And then you'll have, you connect into your charge controller, you'll take your solar panels, you'll charge, they've got little nice pictures, which is nice. You'll hook in your solar panels to it, then you'll hook a line that goes down to your batteries, and then you can hook off a line off of this that'll go to whatever your load is. And your load would be anything that you're wanting to run. Some lights, in my case here, it's going to be some lights, and it's also going to be the water pump for my water catchment. And I don't know if the glare is going to hit you with all this stuff over here, but this is kind of the layout of the things that I kind of need. So I just went and picked up some just regular ends. The reason I've got some new ones here and to show you how to do this is because, well, you know me, I over tighten everything. So I got these a little too tight, and they're little cheap things, so the lead broke, you know, these connectors. And then I had this old wire laying around, and if I remember right, this is the size on it. I think it's 1/0 or 1 gauge. It was some thick wire, so I knew I needed that to connect to the batteries. So very good. You just trim off some end there, and you will just smash them into these ends. They're easy to connect. I believe it's probably better if you used like a, this is like a stranded wire, but it's kind of a thick stranded wire. I believe it's better if you use those little fine strands. Works it better, but this works just as good. It's been working for me so far to do just the small stuff that I'm doing. Well, how's everybody doing today? Hopefully everybody's doing all right. Thanks for coming along again today. There we go. Okay, so what we have here is you have a 6-volt battery and another 6-volt battery. Of course, I was always told you always hook positive up to a positive and a negative up to a negative. But in this case, you're actually going to cross them. You're actually going to hook a positive to a negative and your positive to your negative, and that'll give me, I've got 4 batteries here, but I need to make a 12-volt battery and a 12-volt battery, and I'll connect them. So to increase your voltage, you cross it and it'll increase your voltage. You will hook up your positive to your negative of your 2 6-volts to make a 12-volt. There we go. Bring that back across that side, and we'll make sure that we don't, well, you got to use the right wrench. That'll always help too. Make sure that they're on there good and snug. And make sure too, when you're hooking up your batteries and stuff, like I'm hitting this wall, but it's sheetrock. If that was metal, I'd probably be making some nice little sparks. So you don't want to be doing that. Make sure you're careful when you're hooking everything up so that you're not hitting anything else. Oh wait, I have to skip back here for a second. Let's show you what I'm kind of talking about here. So this is my positive and my negative, and see that's a 6.4. 6.5. They're pretty close. Like I said, these are old batteries, so they're a little messed up. So that's showing you this is a 6-volt and this is 6-volt. I forgot to show you that here a second ago. Alright, so like I was showing you, I forgot to do that. So we showed you how this battery was 6, and this battery was 6, or a little over 6. They were both 6 volts. So now with your negative hooked up to your positive, I don't know if you can see the little plus back there, and here's the little negative right there. Then you can see that now going from the positive of your one battery to the negative of the other battery. Well, let me get that into a better view where maybe y'all can see that. So my positive to my negative is now 12 volts. So this battery and this battery are now 2 12-volt batteries. 12-volt battery on this side, 12-volt battery on this side. Of course, it took 2 6s to make it. So now I just went and got some of these little ends to clamp on across, because it's got these little posts that kind of stick up, so it's a little easier to kind of go them across. So now that I have the 2 6s that make a 12, the 2 6s that make a 12, I want to make this a 12 volt, this 12 volt together. So I need to go from this side. So I'm trying to keep 12 volts going. I don't want to double it again. So keep your negative to your negative and your positive to your positive. And of course, if you're kind of interested and like what you're kind of seeing and everything, just give us a little help out, you know. Hit the little like button down there, a little thumbs up, you know, if you don't mind. And you know, subscribe and share with your friends. Make sure you hit that little bell for the notifications so that you know what we're kind of coming up with all the time. All right, I've got those on a little loose right now because I need to leave them a little bit loose so that I can hook the rest of everything else up to it. So, and make sure that you know your wires don't cross and touch everything else. So now, as we put everything back together, you see that we have 12 volts. See, now these aren't going to show anything because these are just crossing over to show that they're making a 12 volt battery. You have to go from your end of your run, and that's where you know where to hook up your power to. And this is one of these little cheap Harbor Freight freebie jobs that I got, you know. So, believe it would be the same on this side as well. So you can hook up in power to where you cross across. You wouldn't be able to hook up to the points where you make the 6 and the 6 become a 12, because that's converting it over, I guess, on those posts somehow to do it. So your lines where you connect one little bank to the next little bank would be where you'd hook up to. So as you can see, there's your 12 volts there. But if you come back across to here, you won't get any reading at all. So one of my next steps is going to be, I already have my little wires here, and as a little quick rule of thumb, this is some little solar wire that I've got hooked up to the panels outside. And of course what I always do is you can see that I've got a little piece of electrical tape, because they're both black wires, but I put a little piece of electrical tape on the ends to show me this is my positive, so that I don't have to try to pull out the charge, you know, to pull this baby out to find out what's what. And the other thing nice about messing with 12 volts is you don't get shocked. But see, this is my voltage coming in from my solar panels. I got 19 volts coming in, which would be more than enough to charge. And the charge controller helps to make sure it doesn't mess up your batteries. Let's see if I do it the other way. It's going to give me a negative number. So you'll know that if you get that negative number, then you've got them mixed up. See, I've got the negative part on there and the positive side on this one. If I go back and put my red as my positive, black is my negative, then no negative there, so I know this is the way it goes. And I've just got this running through the ceiling right now. This is all just a temporary setup so that I can get everything running correctly while I'm still trying to work. But I need a little bit of power and light in here so that I can see a few things. So double check, kind of tug, make sure they're good. Now you're not going to get anything else up on your screen yet from your charge controller, because even though this is bringing power in, it doesn't power this. This gets actually powered by your batteries. So once we hook this up, you'll see. These are my wires that I already had hooked up to it. And as you can see, that's one reason why I do the little tape idea, because 2 white wires. Well, you got to guess. So I put a little bit of tape around the end to know that that's my positive. There we go. Now I'm going to keep this one off to the side, not touching anything that's metal. because you'll get little sparks and little arcs, and you don't want that. Alright, give it a little tug, make sure it's still plugged in right. Alright, so this is my negative. I need to go to my negative side. Okay. See, still nothing up there because we don't have our positive hooked up yet. And be always careful. Don't do this with your wrench and hit those two posts. That'll make some nice little welding. Okay, so we have the sun hitting the panels. That's what the little icon means on my little charge controller. And you can see the arrow shooting is bringing the power from the solar panels into the charge controller and then going down into the batteries. And you can see the little bars on the batteries, how full it is, and it working its way up. And of course there's a bunch of different settings. It's saying the batteries are at 12.5 volts. Oh look, there's a person.
What's wrong with this picture?
Bar's upside down, no big deal. Why, did you put it on upside down?
Yep.
It don't matter. It's good that you gotta flip them every once in a while.
The chain's backwards, it won't cut.
Oh, well then you put it on completely backwards, yeah. Good rule of thumb. Put the chain on to eat the wood.
I know.
Not to do it the other way. It's okay though. Okay, back to it. So anyway, as we can go through here, our batteries are at 14.5 volts. And I don't have, there's a thing where you can get fancy and hook in temperature and stuff, but I don't have any of that. There's nothing, this says load. It's not doing anything to the load right now. And there's a bunch of other things I gotta really, it says it's bringing in 16 volts from the solar panel here, going in. And we're getting 10 amps. And this is like my total kilowatts that I've sucked in or something. Batteries are 14.6. So we have our power coming in our controller, and then our power going down to feed this. But this is also bringing power in here to where we can hook into our load, which don't mind the mess out here, but here's my water catchment and my little 12 volt pump that I have out here. Hooked on a little switch so I can turn it on and off if I need to. I've got it on the off position right now. This is my wiring to it, and that's just a 12 volt pump. So we can come in here. Whoops. And we hook into the load here. Alright, there we go. So now there's no arrow going to this little light bulb, which would be the load. So if I come out here, hit my switch, you see nothing's coming on because it should be trying to prime up. So we go through here to click this. Now you see there's an arrow going to the light bulb, which means now the power that's going down to charge the battery and also coming up to now power the load side, this should come on. And there it goes. And it's a little pressure pump, so it built up the pressure in the line and then stopped. And when I open up the faucet, of course, then it starts coming back on. Now, show you another little trick. This is kind of a charge controller. It's not really working very well, but it works for what I need it for. This is a little Harbor Freight one. And what I'm going to do here is go straight off my battery. And as I was saying, you can hook in from your lines connecting each bank. So I'm just going to tie over just to this one, just to get it on there, just to show y'all right now. it shows it coming on. Like I said, the screen and everything is all kind of a little messed up. It's not going to show what it exactly is. But it's to show you, because I didn't want to cut these little wires yet. Splice them in, because they're just nice, easy little plug-up deals. And, well, it was already on, but okay. So that plugs up so that now I can turn on and I can have light hanging somewhere in here for the time being while I need it. And see, that's just hooked directly to the battery. You don't have to always go through your load. You can go straight off your batteries if you need to too. And of course, with this whole setup too, is I should also have actually some fuses hooked in so that things don't get messed up there. So, like I said, I'm no expert. I just tinker. Now, one thing I will tell you that I did mess up on these batteries is because I was impatient, threw everything together before, wasn't paying attention. On your flooded batteries like this that take the water and everything in there, and I believe even on your sealed batteries as well, like those AGM, I believe, you don't want your batteries to go below 50% of the charge that's in them, because when it goes below 50%, it starts kind of killing the battery off, and they'll charge up, but they won't give you the length of time when they're new. When you bring them down below 50%, like you're looking here, here's your gauge, 50%, you're good. And if the battery lasts you 2 years, it'll last you 2 years, giving you the same amount of power. But once you go below the 50% mark and bring it back up and go down below again, it starts kind of killing the battery off. And where you might have had, say, let's just give an example of, you would have an hour to run a light bulb. Now, once you bring that battery down below 50% and have to charge it back up, now you've taken that hour and made it into like 55 minutes. And if you keep doing it again and again, now you'll charge up an entire battery, but you'll only get 5 minutes worth of your light instead of making sure you keep your proper usage on your battery. So with little small setups like this, you just got to keep in mind just to know how much you have. And I don't have all the full details on that. I'm still learning myself. Now, this is also still just all running 12 volts. Here we have an inverter, which will take your 12 volts and put it into your normal residential power, your 110 power, as you'd say, what normally takes your normal plugs. And they're pretty easy. They're all about the kind of the same. You got to make sure you get the right inverter with the right system that you're making. Like this is a 12 volt. So if I had this set up as a 24 volt or a 48 volt, that would not be good to put it onto this inverter. So since we have it on a 12 volt, and this was just a little inexpensive inverter itself, and I've just got red going to positive, black going to negative. See that little poof? One thing I like is, the neat thing is I can take the power of the sun and charge up all my little batteries that I use. This thing has 2 plugs in it, and as you can see, we've got power into it, and we got this one charging, and then we have power into this one, and now it's charging. So I can take that inverter and use it to charge my batteries that I do, plus run my little pump out there and run these little lights. And you can see we can run the 2 lights. We haven't lost anything there. We still have a green light on our inverter. Those 2 things are still charging. But that's also because, you know, we've got the sun coming in right now, so it's keeping everything charged, plus charging and running things at the same time. Now, of course, at nighttime, when you lose the sun, that's when you have to be really cautious on using your batteries so that you don't deplete them down past that 50% mark, like I was saying. So if there's anything that you think that I should really know a lot more about that I did not explain very well to any of y'all out there, or of course all those that know way more than I do, please leave that in the comments below. I'd really like to hear that, because like I said, I'm really enjoy putting this all together and doing it. So if I can do it better, I would really like to know from y'all. And if I helped you out a little bit, let me know too. That way, hopefully I explained everything. Well, I'll put it this way. I explained it the best way that I could. So please leave it all down below. Y'all have a great and wonderful day. Be safe. Can't wait to see y'all till next time. Be careful.